My car spun at least 6 times in a circle. As my body went forward, I felt this whoosh, and I have never felt anything like it before. Like, I'm shaking right now just thinking about like how overwhelming it was. I could feel the swoosh of my guardian angel's wings. They were brushing up against my forearm. I could feel a cool touch to my forehead and an audible voice.
Welcome to When You Look, where ordinary people share their extraordinary experiences, and you get to decide, was it coincidence or God?
Katelyn, welcome to When You Look. Super excited to have you on the show. Genuinely glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Truly, we are super excited because your story is incredible, like so many other stories that we have here on When You Look. Before we jump into that, though, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Katelyn. I'm a mom to 5 beautiful children, ranging from 13 to 4. And my husband and I have been married for 14 years, and we're celebrating 15 years together this coming November. Fun fact, he is my kindergarten crush. I've known him for that long. And we're just living life. We live in East Tennessee, and we absolutely love it. 2 years ago, my life took an unexpected turn, and I became a preschool coordinator. Definitely a whole nother God story, just in how I was more than content to being a stay-at-home mom, and God said, nope, I have bigger plans for you. And here you go. So I've been doing that for the past year and a half-ish, and I absolutely love it. I can't have any more kids of my own, so my husband said, you just found a job that now you get to see all the little kids. I said, yes, but I get to send them home with their parents when I'm done. I don't get to bring them all home, which is good.
Yeah. Wow. That is wonderful. And such a unique and interesting fun fact too, the kindergarten crush. I mean, I've heard of high school sweethearts, but that one takes it to a whole nother level. So really,
I've known them that long.
Really neat. Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you for that context and info about you and that introduction. Let's get into your story. Give us a little bit of backstory so that we understand what was happening in the world, your world, if you will, and then walk us through things as they went for you.
Okay, so I guess to start off, it would be like 2 days before the actual accident. So it would have been April 17th. We were in full prep mode at our church that I work and serve at. It was for Easter. And we had 5 services planned for this Easter. That's pretty typical for our church. And Friday night was the first one. So Thursday night, of course, we're prepping and all that. And my husband kept on asking me, he said, Katelyn, he's like, you're tired. When are you going to rest? Like, and you could physically just feel that I was getting very tired. I was pushing. You know how we do. It's ministry. It's a calling. Therefore, you just kind of push on through. And I said, after Easter, I will rest. I want to spend more quality time with you, but it just needs to wait until after Easter. I've got 5 services, and then I can take the next week. I can kind of just relax and rest and recharge. And he's like, okay. So there was just something on Thursday afternoon that, and I honestly believe it's the Holy Spirit, just tell me, you need to prep more for Easter. You need to prep more. And I was like, okay. So I had gotten my boxes all out. I like to be very organized, especially we average around 175 on any given Sunday total for just preschoolers. So for Easter, we tend to get a lot more than that. We had a lot more first-time guests. So I just wanted to be prepared so I wouldn't have to be running back and forth. I actually could be there for our families and our kids. And so I had prepped my extra boxes for the services. And I was like, okay, this is good. I actually feel well prepared. I do a lot of my prep at home. So I had my kids help me load them in the car, load them in my husband's car. And I was like, they'll just stay there till after Friday night. And then I'll bring them in Friday night and prep them for Sunday. So I don't Saturday. So I don't have to come back on Saturday and I can spend the day with my family. I really wanted to spend Easter Saturday, with my family. We had family out of town come in. So I was just trying to, extra prep, but it was the Holy Spirit nudging me the whole entire time. Cause obviously he knows all things. He knew it was going to happen before I did. So, we decided Friday night was going to be our family service. So we always sit together for one service. And Friday night's always slower. It's typically a lot of our serve team and our staff. It's very more intimate because it's just smaller. So I said, I really want to go to this one. I said, I know like there won't be a ton of kids, so we'll go to this one. So we got all dressed up in our Easter outfits. So I wanted to take a picture, as every mom does. Kids are all dressed up and bathed. Let's take a picture. So we got a picture, and then my husband said, he's like, I'll take the kids home because we had driven separately. We typically do for big events because I typically have to be there like a good hour ahead of time, whereas he can just come in right as the service starts, just so the kids are at home a little bit more. And so he said, I'll take the kids home. He's like, I said, if I finish prepping tonight, then I don't have to come back tomorrow. I'd really like to not have to come back tomorrow. He's like, oh, you do that. Definitely go and make it easier for yourself, because he could just tell I was stressed. So a friend of mine offered to help me bring in my totes from the trunk. So we did that, and then said goodbye to my team. We had our family photo done at that point. Talked to a few of the staff members in the parking lot, just wishing them a good Easter. And then I was driving home, and I live about 30 minutes from home. So church is in Knoxville, and I live in Sevierville, like Sevier County. So it's like 30 minutes away. And I just remember reminding us, I haven't eaten all day. This is a problem, because I could definitely, as I was coming off my adrenaline from all of this, I'm like, this is not good. I have not eaten all day. And I'm like, no, my husband hasn't probably eaten either. So I texted him. I was like, what do you want from Freddy's, which is a chain restaurant, on the way home? I passed it. I was like, I will bring you something home. What do you want? Because I figured at that point, he probably already have the kids down to bed, and I get to sit. I just want to sit with you on the sofa. That's what I told him. I was like, I just want to sit on the sofa with you and just relax. When I get home, I'll bring milkshakes home with me, and, food, and, just be able to relax, because the only rest we're going to get all weekend. And him and I both knew that. So, just driving down, typical, was really quiet. It was Friday night. It was after 8:30, so it was close to 9:00. And, it was odd to me, that all of the lights were just looking back on, all of the lights had turned green at the same time. So I did not hit any of the lights. The only light that I hit was the light at Freddy's. And to go into Freddy's, there's 5 lanes of traffic. So you have your 2 lanes that go one way, the 2 lanes to go straight, and then you have your turning lane. Well, to make a left in that plaza, thankfully now it has its own light. It didn't used to. It didn't used to have its own turning lane. That's a nice feature that they've added. But I was just remember sitting there in that light, and there's always, I live in this area. This is my home, stomping grounds. I'm 5 minutes from home. There are so many accidents at this one particular light that anytime I go to make a left or a right in and out of the plaza, I always pause for a few seconds, because people run this light on the regular. And it was dark, and I was like, I don't want to be one of those people where the oncoming traffic jumps the gun and I get hit, because I've seen that a time or two. So I was like, okay, just be patient. So I'm at the light. I'm sitting there, and the light turns green for me to go. I watch an SUV pull out in front of me and make their left-hand turn. And then as they're halfway through, I start. Because I'm like, okay, well, now we're good. They've already gone. There's nobody else. So I started making my left, and I took my foot off the gas pedal, off the brake pedal, and gently tapped it, because it's not really far, and started moving turning to make that left. And then all of a sudden, I just heard this metal crunch, and I could feel the impact. And I remember going forward, in my seat, really quick. And I remember saying, oh God, was all I remember getting out. And in that split second, it was I felt I don't want to die. I knew I had gotten hit. I'd seen wrecks at that place. So you have to remember, already a few minutes ago, I was already thinking of, I need to pause because I don't want to be a wreck, running through all of these different scenarios in my head, and seeing how accidents at that intersection often end up poorly. I'm like, I don't want to die. So a little bit of backstory real quick with that is, I've suffered with depression since I was 16 years old. In 2020, got really bad. I was very suicidal. I attempted suicide. And God has healed me so much in 5 years. But even with medication that I've been on and therapy, it's still a weight that I carry. I used to be able to physically feel that weight on my chest. People that have suffered with depression, especially chronic depression, understand what that means. But like, given that where death is like literally almost feels like it's looking you in the face, it's like, I want to live. Like, I don't want to die. Like, no. And you can ask my husband. I'm a very stubborn, strong individual. Um, good and bad. And I was like, no. I was like, oh God. And I remember coming forward. And then at that moment, as my body went forward, as my body went forward, I felt this whoosh. And I have never felt anything like it before. Like, I'm shaking right now just thinking about like how overwhelming it was. I could feel the swoosh of my guardian angel's wings just completely like this, and like give me a hug. I could feel the feather, like his feathers on his wings. They were brushing up against my forearm. I could feel a cool touch to my forehead, and an audible voice. I believe it was male. It definitely wasn't female. Said, "Just let go," because at that point I was still holding onto the steering wheel, and he said it again. Just let go. And I just let go. I literally put my hands up, crossed my hands in front of my face, and I didn't feel anything after that. It was like I was in a bubble. My car spun at least 6 times in a circle. I didn't hit any of the oncoming traffic. I didn't hit any of the 4 telephone poles that I could have hit. I didn't hit anyone else. It was just that one car and me. And people have asked me, like, well, why didn't you see him? Well, he was being chased by the police through 3 different counties by 9 police patrol cars behind him. But because he came up that hill and then swerved around, I did not see him at all. And he didn't have his lights on. It was a silver car. He didn't have his lights on. There was no way for me to see him. And I honestly believe like that was also providential as well, because I would have tensed up and the damage could have been so much worse. I could have tried to evade him. I could have hit somebody else. Like, as it was just me and his car were the only 2 like in the actual wreck, which again is just providential just in itself. I remember when as I was spinning, my body didn't move at all. So like I was like physically in this bubble, and the angel, I could feel the compression of like getting a hug, like just that warm, almost like that motherly hug that you get that just makes everything just feel so much better. And that's how like how I describe it. And um he told me, he's like, it's not your time to die today. You're not going to die today. He's like, you're not going to die. I'm like, okay. And I said, I remember I need to stay awake. I don't want to pass out. I don't want to pass out. I want to see my kids again. So I started naming off. I have 5 kids, so I started naming them off one after another. And I went to go back to start saying them again for the 3rd time. And the angel said, "You missed one." And I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "You missed one. You need to say her name." And I was like, okay. So like at that point, then I'm crying. Not because I'm in pain, because the overwhelming sense of just relief that there's just washed over me. I lost a daughter before Daniel and I were dating at 21 weeks. Her name was Liliana Grace. She had several birth defects, and God called her home early. And that is something that I've struggled with for the past. Her birthday is actually November 9th. In 15 years, I was struggling with this. I've done different therapies. I've gone to different counselors, and it's gotten better, but I never like stopped blaming myself entirely. There was just an overwhelming sense of sadness. And God knew I needed healing from that. And we do 21 days of prayer at our church. And for 21 days of prayer in January, I had said, Lord, I have tried healing this my way, and I am fully surrendering it to you. Please heal me any which way you can from this, because I can't do it myself. And at that point, I was still dealing with depression. I said, I can carry my depression. I've done it for years. I can carry this and still serve you. But this is something that I need healing from that only you can give. Please, if it be your will, heal me from this. And that for me at that moment, that was my healing moment. That physical weight that was lifted off my shoulders in that car was tremendous. So I said her name with my other 5 kids' names twice. And he said, I need you to know something. He's like, God wants you to know something. I was like, okay. She is whole. She is not in pain. And she's watching after the other ones that you've miscarried, and they're waiting for you. As a mom, I needed to hear that. I have been looking and searching of how to heal. And just in that one moment, I don't even know how long it was, God immediately just said, you're healed. And that was something that I could never have done on my own strength. And I know that for sure. Like, I tried. Clearly it tried. And just for God to say, you've carried it enough. I'm going to heal you. I'm choosing to heal you was absolutely amazing to me. And then the the car finally came to a stop, and the angel said, "It's my time to go." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "You're gonna be okay. The police are here. You're good. You're not gonna die. You're gonna be okay. But it's my time to leave." And so as as I can feel him, like, you know how the release from that hug, you can kind of like feel it release.
Yeah.
I could feel him let go. And as he's letting go, I'm looking down now and I just see this dark, stormy cloud just hovering in front of my chest. And I can feel the pull, that inner struggle that my body, that myself is having with this dark cloud in front of me. And he said, let go. And I I didn't even know what I was looking at that time. And I just remember fully surrendering. I just fully surrendered. That dark cloud was the depression that I had been holding on to for 16 years. I had been carrying it. I had been serving in ministry still, but that was my drive. The reason that I got up in the morning was to be with my 5 kids, to serve my preschool families, to serve my church, to serve God. Like that was my reason and my motivation, like for getting up in the morning. Like this was it. And to feel that depression cloud literally just be like pulled, I could feel the pull. And as his wings went out, that dark cloud just dissipated and it was gone. It was just completely gone. And at that point in time, I still didn't realize what I was looking at. At that moment, I did not have, I remember it happening, but at that time, I don't think my brain connected to what was actually happening. Because again, like it's depression. It's like, it's also in your brain. Feel like it was not, God had healed me, but he knew it wasn't the right time to reveal that to me just yet. That he was gonna move in other ways to show me, because I was just so overwhelmed at that point. And so after the police opened my doors, they said, "Ma'am." I'm like, "Yes." Like, and they asked me again, "Ma'am." I'm like, "Yes, I'm right here." She's like, they said, "You're alive." I'm like, "Am I not supposed to be?" He's like, "No, you shouldn't be." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Your head should have hit that steering wheel so hard it should have cracked your skull right open and you would have bled out. It would have been done." And I said, "Okay, well, I didn't." He's like, "Did you hit your head?" I said, "No, I didn't hit my head." He's like, "That is not possible." He's like, "I watched your car get hit. There is no way that it is possible that you did not hit your head." I'm like, "Well, I didn't." And they said, "Are you in pain?" I'm like, "I think I got the wind knocked out of me." He's like, "Yeah, definitely. No, duh." Cause like at that point, like I didn't see what my car looked like. I couldn't, like, my dashboard looked fine. I could tell, like, there was like obviously damage to the car, but internally, like it was dark. It looked okay. Looked fine. He's like, "Okay, well, I need to examine you to make sure that you're not like, your body is not in shock." And I was like, "Okay." So like he does like his like once over to make sure that there's no blood anywhere. And then they see blood on the floor and they're like, "Okay, well, we need to check this out." And I was like, "Okay." He was like, I'm sorry. He's like, "I'm going to have to cut your pants." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Fun fact was, it's the first time I got to wear that outfit. I was super excited about wearing that outfit. It was my Easter outfit. I was really excited. I was like, "Yes, it's fine." So he cuts my pant. He's like, "Oh, that's fun." I'm like, "What's fun?" He's like, "Well, your bone is sticking out of your leg." I'm like, "Oh, that's great." I couldn't feel it at this time. Like, I couldn't feel it. It was obviously still a little bit of shock. And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "Well, do you want to see it?" I'm like, honestly, at that point, I had nothing else better to do. I was like, sure, why not? He's like, okay. He's like, I'll show you my flashlight. So he takes his flashlight and shows it down at my leg. And I'm looking at my leg with my bone sticking out of it. And the first thought in my head, I kid you not, was that looks like an Olive Garden breadstick. That was my first thought. What's wrong with me? Seriously. I
You
love
said
art.
you
Well,
hadn't had anything to eat that day, so
no, probably clean. But I was like, I told my husband, that was the first thought that entered your head. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, at least you have good taste. I'm like, yeah, their breadsticks are pretty good, aren't they? He's like, I said, did I ruin them for you? He's like, no. I'm like, well, that's good, because I definitely didn't ruin them for me. I'm still planning on eating them. So he's like, okay. So the police officer said, okay, don't move. I'm like, wasn't planning on it. I'm like, I can have like a really dark sense of humor sometimes. It's like a coping mechanism. Well, then he picks it up. He picks up my leg. I don't know what was running through his brain that this was going to be a good idea, because it was definitely not. So he picked it up, and I was like, well, then all the pain started. It was almost like it went from no pain at all to it started in my head and literally went all the way down. Like my whole body just was like, almost like that upload bar you see. It was just like, that was exactly what it is. And I said, well, you now have a new job. He was like, excuse me? I was like, you're not letting that go. That is your new job. You picked it up. You are not allowed to drop it. That's your new job. He was like, yes, ma'am. I'm like, great answer. He's like, I have to do something else. Like, I know I'm not going to like what you're going to say. He's like, no, probably not. He said, your left foot is hooked around your right ankle, and I have to take it off. I'm like, take it off? He's like, it's still attached. I'm like, well, that's good. But what do you mean by take it off? He's like, well, it's stuck. It's like hooked around your leg. He's like, so we're going to have to fix this. And I'm like, okay. He's like, this is going to hurt. I'm like, just don't preface with that. I'm just going to leave it. Don't preface with that. So he unhooked my foot. And then, of course, then it's just flopping there. And it's not a good scene. So that's when I'm like, I'm trying really hard to keep it together. And I'm not like normally like a screamer. Just not. Had 5 kids. It's not my jam. And I'm like, this is like, thinking in my head, this is the worst pain I have ever been in my entire life. And I've had 5 children naturally. This is like literally the worst pain I have ever been in my entire life. I'm thinking, why did the guardian angel have to leave? Could he not have stayed here for like another 2 minutes? Like 2? But whatever, it's fine. So the funny thing was, they're all standing around my car, like the police officers, the fire truck is now here, and they're just kind of like hanging out. I'm like, no sense of urgency, like here. And I was like, I finally asked the officer who is still like holding my leg, because it's his job now. And I said, what's going on? He's like, they can't figure out how to get you out of the car. I'm like, is it really that hard? Like, is the car really that bad that like you can't get me out? He's like, well, your seats don't go back down far enough for us to be able to like get the gurney in there and slide you out. I'm like, I didn't hurt my neck. My back is fine. I said, it's literally just my leg, like the one that you're holding. I said, can we work together to do this? Well, then I hear a pop. Not from my body, but from the car. And the car lit on fire. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, like I've gone through this accident. Now I'm visibly seeing smoke and flames coming through in front of the passenger side, in front of like where the window, like the windshield is on the other side. It's like visibly smoking. It's filling up the car with like smoke. It's still pretty thin at that point, but it's escalating really quickly. So he calls over for one of the police officers to go to his boot and grab his fire extinguisher and put it out, because the firefighters had just gotten there and they weren't prepped yet. So meanwhile, like he throws his jacket over top of my face and they start putting out the fire. And then I told him, I looked and I was like, I need you to get me out of here now. I said, I'm trying to get my anxiety under control. I said, but this is pushing it. I'm going to have an anxiety attack. My husband isn't here. This is not going to go well. Because I knew like if I got to that point, it was not going to go well. And I said, have you gotten a hold of my husband yet? He's like, we've tried to call him 12 times. He's not answering. Because I kept on asking, like, I need my husband. I need Daniel. He's been my rock through everything. I need Daniel. Like, I need my husband. And he's like, we're trying to get a hold of him. I said, is there anybody else we can call? I said, call my mother-in-law. And she's like, I said, she lives 5 minutes from my house. If we call her and she picks up, she can get a hold of him. Like, she knows, like, she'll get a hold of him. I said, maybe he's putting the kids to bed at that point. Like, I had no clue, like, where no idea. So he's like, they said, okay, well, what's her number? Well, okay, even to this day, I don't remember what her number is, but that day I've repeated it not once, but twice. And it was the correct number. Ask me, nope, don't remember. I know the last 4, but that doesn't help me if I don't know the first 3. So it's just amazing just to see how, like, even then, like, God gave me clarity of mind. My brain was never fuzzy. I never passed out. There was moments that I wished I had passed out because of how much pain I went into so quickly, but still, like, was able to converse with all of them. And so they said, okay, we got a hold of your mother-in-law. She's going to get a hold of your husband. I'm like, great. I said, now can you get me out of the car, please? Because the fire had been done. They got it out. Now we've moved on. And they said, well, we still can't figure it out yet. I said, okay. I said, do you have the backboard? And they said, well, yeah. I said, if I lift my butt up with my right leg, I said, it is sprained. I can feel it swelling. I said, I can put weight on it. Can you slide it underneath of me? They said, well, yeah. I said, if you can slide it underneath of me and the officer who's holding my leg can keep holding my leg, I said, I can shift myself so that I'm pointing out to facing you. And they said, that would work. I'm like, yeah, it'll work. I said, what do we need to do in order for me to do it? I said, well, you have to wear a neck brace. I said, well, I didn't hurt my neck. Like, it's a formality, but we still have to do it. I was like, okay, well, then let's go. Well, first off, they put the wrong size on me. So I felt like one of those, like, giraffes. Like, my neck was just like, I'm like, whatever. It's getting me out of the car. I really don't care at this point. It was uncomfortable. It wasn't painful. That's fine. I had other things to worry about. So I literally got myself out of my own vehicle. I spun around, used the steering wheel and the back of the seat to, like, pull myself forward out of the car. And everything was going fine until that officer dropped my foot. And we're not just talking, like, gently dropped. We're talking, like, I heard the thud on the backboard of him dropping my leg and my foot, again, just kind of, like, hanging there. And I screamed. Like, I have never screamed like that in my entire life. I was praying I would pass out. And that was not to be. Well, little did I know, Daniel was not at home with my 5 beautiful children. He was at the Walmart, which was 2 lights from where I was at. So Daniel got to the car and he said that he looked down at his phone and he saw that he'd missed several calls for me. We have Life 360, which if you don't have it, I highly recommend. And he's like, well, she's at Freddy's, so she must be calling me for, like, what I want to eat. I'll just meet her there. Well, then his mom calls him and she says, Daniel, she's okay, but Katelyn's been in an accident. And he's like, Mom, but she's at Freddy's. She's like, son, that's where the accident is. Like, she's okay though. I talked to the officer and she's alive. She's still in the scene. Like, they're okay. She's okay. And he's like, Mom, I've got to go. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, okay. He's like, Mom, I'm at the Walmart 2 lights from there. And she's like, okay, I'll meet you at home. And he's like, okay. Because, like, he had all 5 kids with him. So he said he just put the phone down and he can just remember praying. And as he, like, because we live in East Tennessee, so it's a lot of hills. So he came up the hill to where you could see the whole, like, light and everything. There's a whole bunch of stuff right there. He's like, I have never seen so many police vehicles in one place. Is like, my heart just dropped. He's like, he lived in Newark, New Jersey. So for him to say that he'd never seen that many police cars, he's like, Mom said you were okay. He's like, but seeing all those cars, it just hits you a little different. So he said that he pulled up next to, like, off to the right, still with all 5 of my kids in the car. Meanwhile, I don't know this. He pulled up with all 5 kids in our car. And Ethan, who's my oldest, said he jumped out of the car. He's like, Mom, I've never seen Dad run that fast before. He passed either firefighters or police officers and said, that's my wife. My kids are in the car. Can you go watch them? And, like, just made a beeline. He saw his car. He immediately, thankfully, I think he just saw the back first because the back didn't have any damage to it. He didn't see the front. I think it was the fire chief was there, and he just told Daniel, like, just, they're getting her out of the car, because at this point I'm trying to get myself out of the car. And because they're getting her out of the car. You can see her in a minute, but just like, wait here. She's okay. She's alive. And he's like, okay. So he's waiting. So meanwhile, I'm like, now I'm crying because I'm scared. They heard me scream. So like I'm on the gurney. And I was like, I just need my husband. And I remember the sense of relief when Daniel said, I'm here. I'm right here with you. I didn't know at that point if it was me hallucinating that he was there or that if he was there, it didn't matter to me. The amount of peace that just kind of like, okay, if anything is going to happen to me, at least I can see him one more time. I knew it was going to be okay, but I didn't know the extent. Okay can mean you're going to be alive, can mean so many different things. And so he's like, I'm here. I'm right here. I'm not going to leave you. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I'm right here. So they got me out onto the gurney. And I just remember the feeling of as soon as he touched me, I knew that everything was going to be fine, that I didn't have to worry literally about anything else. It didn't nothing else mattered. It didn't matter if I lost my leg. It didn't matter if I was paralyzed. My husband was right here, and that it was going to be okay. Like he told me, the angel had told me that it was not my time to die. I knew it was going to be okay. But just that overwhelming piece of being able to tangibly hold on to someone that you like, that is your best friend, is like an overwhelming feeling. And he's my person. I constantly tell him, like, you're my person. You will always be my person. So to have him there was just amazing. And then I said, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I was at Walmart. I said, I thought you were home. He's like, no. He's like, I got our kids in the car. I'm like, then mom mode hit in. Like, why are the kids here? The kids can't be here. No, take them home. He's like, it's okay. I'm like, no, it's not okay. You need to take them home. I don't want them here. Because like mom brain went, I'm like, I don't know what they're going to see. I know they're probably scared and frightened of all the lights, all the noises. You know, they just probably heard me scream bloody murder. So like all of these mom things just like overloaded. So he's like, okay, he's like, I'm going to meet mom and then I'll be right back. I'm like, that's fine. Daniel asked, like, where are they going to take her? They're going to take her to UT. He's like, I'll meet you there. He's like, I'll be there soon. I was like, okay, that's fine. He's like, I knew already, like, it was going to take a while for him to be able to see me just because you have to go through all of those at the hospital. It's crazy. So he took the kids home. My mother-in-law was already there. He'd grabbed a few things. And like the whole time, like after he left and I was put in the ambulance, they had checked my blood pressure so many times because it was perfect. My blood pressure never was abnormal. My heart rate never like even stopped. Like it was consistently strong. So like all those indicators that your body is in stress were not there. They just weren't there for me. Which is another miracle. Like, your blood pressure is normal. Like, who are you? I'm like, it always is. Sorry. So I remember getting in the ambulance and they said, okay, like, they're assessing me and I'm just like, I had my eyes closed and I'm praying, but I'm not praying like audibly, I'm like whispering. And my prayer the whole entire time in that ambulance was that Daniel would never be by himself. This is something that we had never navigated before. We didn't know anybody who had navigated any like this before. And I was like, Lord, he just needs someone in his life that is going to be able to encourage him, to be there for him. We need a prayer warrior. We need somebody who is going to just show up for Daniel. Like, I knew I was going to be okay, but I didn't know if Daniel was going to be okay because I knew that he'd seen me, like, it was rough. And Daniel said before he even left the driveway, our pastor from our church called him and asked him, where is she at? I'm going to meet you there. And Daniel said, they're taking her to UT. He's like, the pastor said, I'm already on my way. Daniel serves in our special needs ministry at church. And that team that serves with those kids are very tight knit. And we have a prayer wall. So Daniel put on the prayer wall that I had been in an accident, but he didn't know how bad it was. But if everybody could just please pray, that we would greatly appreciate it. Well, our pastor's wife serves in that ministry as well. So she told her husband, who is our pastor, and she said he immediately got his shoes on and was like out the door. Like, he just, without even like asking if we needed him, he was there. And again, that was providential. That's Pastor Jonathan for you. Jonathan, his heart of gold. And so there was no point at all that Daniel was ever by himself. From in the hospital, not only did Pastor Jonathan show up, Pastor Jeff, who used to be, I think, was like a paramedic in our town, like pretty high up there, paramedic. He showed up there, and God put those people in our lives because Jonathan's presence was calming. He was very like down to earth. He was just praying. When he prays, that God has entered the room. He was there with my husband the whole entire time they're working on me in trauma. And it was just overwhelming to see how, like, even then I was praying and God answered my prayers again. It's not that I've never seen God answer my prayers, but I've never seen him act so quickly on them and answer them so quickly. I wasn't worried about myself. I was like, somebody needs to be there with Daniel because normally I'm that person. Normally I'm that person who's there with him. And I can't be. I physically can't be. And I just remember like them saying like, well, we need to reset. We need to get your leg reset. You need to figure it out. It's like, because and they told me, it's been without like blood circulation now for 60 minutes. It's starting to turn, we don't want you to lose your foot, but it's, not, we need to get moving. I said, do whatever you want to do. Well, I'm a natural redhead and my body does not respond to pain medication and medication in general like most people's does. And they could not find something that was taking any of the pain away to be able to set my leg the way that they needed to. So they finally said, we're just going to have to sedate her and like knock her out. And I was like, I asked him, I was like, will this get me to my husband faster? Because I didn't want to be put out because I was still like really afraid. And they said, yes, if we can get your leg set, once you move out of the trauma unit, your husband can come in here with me. I said, that's fine. I said, whatever needs to happen, please, by all means, just do. And so it was just neat to see how God even then moved in a way that I didn't ask him to do. I didn't ask him to show up for me so many times. You could just see his presence, the people that he brought to us. Just looking back now, God knew not only who we wanted, but he also knew who we needed. And I genuinely believe that God had just overwhelmingly sense of, I'm lost for words of how to describe it. I was in pain, but I was at peace the whole entire time. I remember there was one point after they brought me back to Daniel, and I didn't know at that point that Jonathan was there. I didn't know that Jeff was there. I just, I'm praying for God to bring someone. I don't know who it is. I don't know when they're going to show. It's God's timeline. It's mine. So getting back in there and I see Jonathan and then I see Jeff come in and Jeff is able to talk with the nurses because he knows a lot of them, which is great. And I told Daniel, I said, I'm coming unhinged was I believe the word I used because I had been in so much pain at that point that I was having a really hard time, not just like falling apart and just like crying. And I knew that wasn't going to get me anywhere. And he's like, what do you need? I said, I need my worship music playing. I said, just put on a playlist. I don't care what it is. I just need something else to focus on. Music has always been a really big part of my life. I listen to music. If I could 24/7, I probably would. So Jonathan and Daniel were both trying to find reception in order to be able to play music for me, which I thought was really sweet. And then they finally did. And Tasha Layton has become one of my favorite Christian artists. And Worship Through It literally has been my theme song since the very beginning. And I looked at Daniel, like after I was able to find my center, I said, Daniel, I saw my angel. And he said, what? I was like, I saw my angel. And then of course, Pastor Jonathan's there. He's like, what? And so I'm retelling him everything that I just told you. And I'm watching Daniel, my husband, and I'm also watching Jonathan because they're really close together. And Jonathan's eyes just kept on getting bigger and bigger, and his eyeballs keep on I thought his eyebrows were going to reach his hairline. And he's like, "That's amazing." I'm like, "Yep." And at that point, I still didn't realize that my depression had been healed as well. I told him, I said, Daniel, the weight is just gone. And Daniel said, he's like, I needed to hear that. He's like, I knew that was a weight that you were carrying. And then then to be able to hear you feel that relief that you get when it's done is just absolutely amazing. So then fast forward, thankfully Jeff was there and he was able to explain some of those medical terms that doctors like to use that normal people don't like to use. And like at one point they said, "Oh, this is gonna hurt a little," and I can just remember seeing in the back of the room. He's like, "I'm like, what?" He's like, I was like, "Oh," he's like, "This is really going to hurt." I'm like, "Thanks for that." I just like, don't sugarcoat it for me. If it's gonna hurt, let me know that it's gonna hurt so I can process. Don't spring it on me. So like that was when they were taking x-rays and they were having to move my foot back and forth, and it currently wasn't like really set all the way. So like that was by like midnight. I finally was able to move to a regular room at like 3:00 in the morning. I had surgery on my leg the next day at 9. I had a compound fracture, so both bones were broken. Um, I have a really nasty, they call it my Maui fish hook because that's what it looks like, of where the bone exited my leg and tore my skin out. I have a titanium rod and 3 screws that will be with me for the rest of my life. They will never leave. Um, I have healed a lot faster than a lot of what people, even my PT specialist, he's mentioned several times, like, I didn't think you were going to get the mobility back that you have. He's like, I really think it's because you've pushed yourself. And thankfully, like all of my doctors that I've had that are like close to me, like whether it be my PT specialist or my GP, um, and my psychiatrist, all of them are Christians. And I believe God knew that I needed that because when I tell my story, it would sound crazy to anybody else. But the easiest explanation is but God. And that's always what I say. It's like, that's crazy. I'm like, yes, but God. Like this over and over again. And, I push myself, not just because I want to heal, but because my 5 kids, they're still really young. I want to be there for them. I have a 4-year-old. He still has so much of life that I want to be a part of. I love my job. God knew that I needed rest and that I wasn't going to take rest on my own. So he made it so that I was out of work for 6 weeks. Kind of forced me to take a break, which if you knew my personality, that was probably needed. Because I love doing what I do and I will constantly say yes. And God was like, you know what? No, you're not gonna rest. So I'm gonna make you rest and I'm gonna make you analyze some things that you're doing. And are you saying yes to the good? Or are you saying yes to the best? And my big, huge takeaway just in the past few months, like right after the accident was, am I being a Mary or am I being a Martha? And that for me was really big. It's like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And like, that was hard for me to grapple with because you don't, when you ask God to give you those answers, sometimes those answers are not what you want to hear. And I did hear a lot of answers that I didn't want to hear. But it also showed me that when I'm in God's will, life might not be perfect. But there is so much joy and peace to be found in answering your calling and doing your calling even when the going gets tough. I returned back to work in July and quickly found out that I could not keep up the pace that I once had because I was no longer the person that I was, that I had different physical now things that were slowing me down physically. Like it physically slows me down. And I always joke, I said, I used to be like, hurry up and get there. Well, now I have time to think about it several times before I even get there because I physically can't move that fast. I have a little more time to I feel like my brain can catch up with my body by the time I get there, which is probably good because I'm like, yeah, that really doesn't, no, we don't need to do that. Let's not. But then also it's enabled me to just within my team, see who's like a leader and who I can ask to do extra things and just asking God to send me the right people. Like, I don't want them to do it out of obligation. I want them to do it because you called them to do it, just like you called me. You called me here. Call people here to help me so that I can still do. I said, I don't want your ministry, your preschool ministry to waver because I'm standing in the way. That's always been my prayer. Like, I don't want to stand in the way of God's will. And this whole entire past 6 months, that's been my mantra. It's like, it's not my will. It's not my agenda. It's God's agenda. There's a reason why things are happening. Yes, it's not in my time, not my time for sure, but God has a hand in it all. And I've gone back to work pretty much full time now. I still am home a little bit. That's one of the things how it's like changed for me. Um, I'm better at asking for help. That is something I struggled with. I'm a very independent person, but God showed me you don't have to do it all. have not called you to do it all, more specifically. And just that asking other people to help is a blessing to them, and you not asking them is robbing them of a blessing that they could potentially have. And are you willing to stand in the way of somebody else getting a blessing? And one of my dear friends, she's one of our prayer warriors at church, and she came to visit me in the hospital, and I told her like my whole story from start to finish. I said, there's one piece of it that I don't understand. And I was like, okay. She's like, okay, what is it? I said, the dark cloud, it's gone. And I said, I don't understand what it is. Like, I didn't ask for it to be gone. And she's like, she kind of just like chuckled, like as she does. I can't imitate it at all. But she's like, in 21 days of prayer, you asked for what you thought you needed, but it was just what you wanted. God chose to give you not only what you wanted, but what you needed. And your time of holding on to your depression was over. God said it was done. So, and she said, I firmly believe because of your faithfulness in serving, even while going through depression, your drive for this, God saw you and said, that is my servant. She's doing it even when they go inside. I'm going to take away, because how much more would she be able to do if it was not there? And my spirit, that weight that I have carried, even with doing through therapy and my mental health medication, like all of it, like I still have always carried that, but that has not been there in 6 months. I have never felt so light in my entire life. And it is something that I keep on to, like, I can't help but smile because the weight that's there is not there anymore. Those intrusive thoughts aren't there. Those thoughts of that I'm not good enough for this job. It's like, but wait a second, I am good enough for this job because God called me to do this job. And when God is ready for me to move on to something different, he's going to make it abundantly clear. And that's something that I'm trying to navigate because I thought I was going to be the preschool coordinator forever. And God is showing me that, hey, you were a stepping stone. You were just a placeholder. And that's how it's supposed to be. You're not meant to do this forever. I have other things for you, but are you willing to fully surrender? So in August of this year, I fully surrendered just the ministry of being a preschool coordinator. I had done something similar in January of just like trying, but I reaffirmed it in August during 21 days of prayer. I said, Lord, prepare my heart, prepare the heart of those around me, that you would make it abundantly clear, because I feel like I'm falling into the same things that I did before my accident. And I don't want any of what I've gone through to get lost in the joy that I've been given. So help me learn this lesson once, because I'm a one and done type of person. Like, please don't make me do that again. I really don't want to do that again. So this, like, that's like the main bulk of it. A lot of like other things that I'll probably remember after have changed and transpired. God has worked a lot in our family since then. Just with learning that we need to be better at our devotions and our prayer life. We get up at the morning before the kids go to public school at 5:45, and we have prayer time with them before they go to school. And then we have devotions with them at night before they go to bed. My husband and I pray more audibly, like verbally, so our children can hear us throughout our house, just asking God to enter our place. It's not that we didn't do that before, but I almost feel like God has given us that fervency of like, let's do more. Like, don't just settle for lukewarm. I watched The War Room lately, and that really just challenged me even more of like all those things. Like, okay, I can do more. I need to do more for my family, and just in the sense of like, I need to be their biggest prayer warrior. Like, I have 5 kids, 4 of which go to public school. And they've been able to walk through this journey of healing with me. It's not been my healing journey. It's definitely been my family's healing journey. We've seen God move a lot. And even my husband and I's marriage, we've gotten closer. We've had to get closer. He was my caregiver for the first 4 months solely. He took off work and he was next to me every single step of the way. He refused to leave me alone in the hospital. So he made sure that I was always somebody. If he had to step out to get me clothes or to get me food or whatever, there was always somebody that we knew in the room with me. I was never by myself. And just bringing my husband and I closer together, I think was good, because we often get lost in the shuffle of parenting. I feel like sometimes when you work in ministry and you're doing things for the Lord, you kind of get more of a target on your back. And one way that the enemy will try to get a foothold is in your marriage. And we're very much not okay with that. So even just praying on that more, like, Lord, like, we know this is a possibility. Strengthen it, don't weaken it, type of deal. So like that's the gist of it. Here I am now. It's October. It'll be 6 months since the accident this Sunday. I still have yet to make that left turn that I was trying to make. But I think that I feel like I'm getting close, if that makes sense. My therapist has told me not to rush it, but I'm at that point now where it's been 6 months. Enough is enough. I'm going to do this. So I need to, for the most part, like set myself up like I had done that night. And like, I feel like once I make that left turn, that there's nothing like standing in my way. Last Sunday I was on my way to church, and it's very rare for that light to be completely empty of like no cars. But like when you leave your house at 7:30 in the morning to go to church, it's kind of empty. I just remember like the light was red and there was nobody there. And looking at that intersection where the accident happened, because I pass it on a daily basis, twice a day when I'm out. And just looking at that where the accident happened, it was clean. And I was just like struck by the fact there's no more evidence now. There's no more glass on the road. There's no more debris on the road. It felt like a very sense of like almost healing in and of itself to see that intersection wiped clean. And I was reminded of like how God washes our sins away, and God like wants to take our burdens and just carry them for us, that we're not meant to carry them. And that was I carrying the weight of this intersection when I didn't need to. So like I was able like, okay, like visually see like it's clean. I just need to get over to God. And like, this is something that I have to do. I don't want the anxiety. I don't want the fear. I don't want any of it. So just take it all. So be able to see that intersection completely like clean was very healing for me in a way that I didn't know that I needed. And then to think of like, it's 6 months on Sunday, of like how far I've come in 6 months and how much farther I'll be in 6 months from now. I definitely do not have all my mobility back. I can walk. I'm very slow. And I get tired really easy and I swell a lot. But through all of that, I'm still able to do what I love to do. I get to be a mom to my 5 kids. I'm here when they get off the bus from school. I get to spend time with my husband in the evening, and I get to cook in my kitchen again. I think there was like, I want to say it was 4 months that I didn't cook, and my husband and I got back in the kitchen. He's like, thank the Lord. He said, one of my gifts is not cooking and we are done. He's like, I'm so tired of takeout. I'm so tired of food that's not yours. Thank you so much for cooking. I love you. I'm like, I love you too. So just like those little things that you take for granted. He's like, mom's back in the kitchen again. Yay. My kids are like, yay. I'm like, good. Yes. So I just like the little things. Like it just makes a smile when you see like the little things pop up and you're like, yeah, I do miss that. I miss my cooking. I love everybody. Thank you so much for your blessing. But like, there's nothing about being home in your kitchen with your 5 kids running around causing chaos and just being able to see their smiles. And there's moments where I stand there like, I could have missed this. And I am so grateful for it. So this accident has made me pause where normally I wouldn't have paused and where pause was needed. And so that's my story. And it's 6 months later.
Katelyn, there's so much there. There's
Yeah.
so much there. Thank you for sharing all of it. I mean that.
You're welcome.
We've got to come back to a couple of different things. Okay?
Yes.
We have to explore these a little bit more. So first off, I believe you said that the daughter that you miscarried is a Liliana Grace. Did I have that correct?
Yeah, Liliana, yes.
Liliana. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It's my loss, it's her gain. She didn't get to be touched by any of the world's harshness and ugliness.
Yeah. And how beautiful is it that you've been given that clarity?
Yes. Genuinely a gift.
Praise God. I'm sure that our listeners are wanting to understand a couple of things better. Okay.
Okay.
So you talk about the vehicle spinning a half
Mhm.
dozen times. Sounds like it was hit from the front because you
It
described
was.
Daniel running to the scene from the rear, and there really wasn't much damage to the car. Um, and not hitting your head. So the first thing that comes to mind is was the maiden airbag deployed? Like, give us some more insight into some of those details so we can
Um,
picture it a little bit more
so to
comprehensively.
give you a better picture, um, they said that he hit me 3 inches to the left of being head on. So they consider it a near head on collision. It was just 3 inches to the right, so like on not to the right, to the left on the passenger side. And they said that because I also should preface, this is a big one. He was going over 85 miles an hour when he hit me. So when he made contact with my car, they clocked him at over 85, probably closer to 90 is what he hit me at, the velocity that he hit me. And I was probably not even going 10. So thankfully, I wasn't going very fast at all. And my foot was not anywhere near the brake or the gas pedal. It was not anywhere near it. Um, so I should guess preface that he was going 85, if not more over. He hit me 3 inches to the left of head on. And they said that because of that, the way he did it that way, that made it so that I spun instead of flipped over. They said that had he hit me head on, my car probably would have, and it should have, flipped over top of his car and rolled. Obviously, that would have been a lot worse. So just that alone, he hit me because I had already started making my turn. So just because of that fact, like I spun several times. Um, all the airbags did deploy. The one in front of me did. I'd had no face lacerations. I had no arm lacerations. I had like a few bruises, like right in here, and they were like small ones, just from I think it's from the plastic that was like that covers the airbag. It was an older Honda, like early 2000. I think that's what it's from because it was just very like really specific spots. They weren't like it wasn't like
Yeah.
my whole arm. It was just specific spots. But it did deploy. It did deflate really quickly, which I was kind of surprised. Like I didn't realize how quickly it expands and then will like fall because I didn't even like there was no suffocating either. Just because it was like it wasn't even my lap at that point. It was like shoved into the steering wheel when it deflated, which is kind of weird. Almost like someone had moved it out of the way. So it wasn't me who moved it. Definitely
That
wasn't
is
me who moved
good.
it.
Yeah. Okay. So then
Yep.
that's a great segue. Let's go there. Okay.
Okay.
You did a wonderful job of describing that warm hug, feeling what you believe to be the angel's, wings on your arms. Like, gosh, just take us back there. Like, give us some more on that.
Okay. So, think of it like a huge, like, like when you're in, like, standing outside in a field and you get like that gust of air, like that's like just like a gust of wind. That is exactly what it felt like. And it just surrounded me and created a bubble. Um, I could feel a cool touch on my forehead. It was distinguishingly cool. Something that I didn't mention before was that I could smell honeysuckles, which I've always loved honeysuckles. But like, it was an overwhelmingly smell of like, which just calmed me immediately. And speaking to someone else who is one of our intercessory prayer at church, she's like, when she prays, she will often smell honeysuckles when she prays. So it's almost like that whole like pure, clean smell, like that just, I don't know. It's just every time I smell it, it brings me back to that moment of like, wow, it's just amazing. So
Yeah.
I could feel the feathers, like when you take a feather and you put it on your arm, just that light, like just enough to know that they're there, but not an overwhelmingly sense. That's how it started, and then the hug got harder, and I think the hug got harder as I was spinning, like almost, and it was protecting me from spinning because I didn't move around. Like I didn't have any bruises on my arm from hitting the seats. I didn't have bruises anywhere else. Like I had bruises from my seatbelt but not from like hitting my head on the on like the door next to me. I didn't hit my head at all. So like very much like was just tucked in a ball and just cradled. And the voice, like they've asked me, was it a male or a female? Like I honestly couldn't tell you. It sounded more neither. I don't know. But it was regardless of what it was, like if it was a boy or a girl, it was peaceful. It was angelic in the sense that everything stopped. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see anything. When I didn't see the police officers until after the angel left. I didn't even know they were there. I had no idea of my surroundings until the angel left, and then everything, it was like a fog slowly was like lifted, and then I could see everything. And there was a slight sense of panic after I saw like everything. So like, oh no. I was like, no, we're good. We're good. And he said, your time is not done. We're good. Like, focus, bring it back, bring it back. But it was just an overwhelmingly sense of comfort and peace. And if that would have been my time to go, that would have been the way to that would have been okay. Like that would definitely be the way to like just that peace of the angel's presence, knowing that it was sent from God, that it brought back that whole verse that talks about like he sees when every sparrow falls. He knows how many hairs are on your head. It like God, my heavenly Father saw me and chose to send one of his angels that could have been doing so much more. He decided to send him to me. And that is a blessing and a gift that I don't think I will ever get over. Ever get over.
Praise God. Thank you for declaring it like that.
Over and over again.
The angel tells you to let go.
Mm-hmm.
There's clearly significance to that.
There is. Like I said, I'm very stubborn. And I like to be in control sometimes more than often. I'm not a type A personality, but I'm pretty close. I I would not be able to tell that. I have 5 kids in my house. My house is very much looked like it lived in. But like in my work life, I like things to be filed neatly. I like things to be organized. I like labels. Like I love all of those things. So I think like when the angel told me to let go, it was going to be the only way that I actually let go of that steering wheel. And I needed to hear that. My husband said, that's a miracle in itself that you actually listened. Is what like, that was a miracle. I was like, yeah, probably. Don't count on it happening again. So just the letting, just let go for me has been just different points in my life and my story from all the way. It's that just let go has been something I've heard before. Not necessarily from God. It might not have been directly from God, but it was either my husband telling me just to let go, or me wrestling with something that the Lord tells me you need to just let it go, whether it be relationships or whatever. Like, so that just let go, like that's a phrase for me that resonated with me, and that I know that God knew, like, if we say this, she'll listen. So even just that is significant to me. There's so many little small details in my story of the accident that are just point over and over again. Like, did you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It feels like that commercial that we grew up with. Can you hear me now? I was like, Lord, I hear you. I'm listening. Please just show me what you want to. Maybe not with an accident next time. I'm happily to receive whatever you want me to receive. Just make it abundantly clear.
Let's explore the letting go of the dark cloud, depression, and all of the associated elements in light of what commonly can occur in the midst of trauma, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that things get worse. And for you,
Yes,
there was
they got better.
deliverance.
Yes. So
Tell us your
I
thoughts
had
on that.
I have had so many, even like doctors and like my GP I see on a regular basis. They've always like, how are you doing mentally? I'm like, I'm fine. Like, I'm great. And like, okay. Like, no, I'm really genuinely, I'm fine. My anxiety has not been great, but it wasn't. It's better now. Getting back into a vehicle after an accident obviously has its, natural, like, I really don't really want to do this. But like, as far as like the depression aspect, no, I would never say like I've not had the same depression symptoms that I've had before. I've had moments where I'm frustrated. but it's frustration because my life literally came to like a halt. It literally stopped. Like when I say like my life stopped, I mean like my life stopped. I had to rely on everything for everybody. Like I had to rely on everyone else for everything that I needed versus normally it's the other way around. So for me, it was just, it's been so different. Like even now, like 6 months later, this is the lightest I've ever felt. And there's no other way to explain it than that God delivered me. Like, this is ridiculous. I've never been 2 months without having a depression episode where I don't want to get out of bed. And there are mornings that I don't want to get out of bed now, but it's not because I'm depressed. It's because I'm hurting. I'm still hurting a lot. So it's like, I really don't want to get out of bed because I know this is going to hurt versus like, I don't want to get out of bed because I just don't want to live anymore. They're very different. I've had depression since as long as I can remember. I've felt like I've actually had it longer than I've been without it. And to like be on the other side of it, I'm still trying to get used to the fact that when I'm sitting alone in a quiet space, there's no negative voices. There's nothing telling me that I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough, or that I should be doing all of these different things. It's gone. There's no wallowing in all of the what ifs or the couldas or like the bad situations. It's like I'm frustrated, but it's never depression. And it's more easier to smile. I feel like it's easier to pray. Just so many different things have happened with it. And I honestly, like, it's an unexpected gift. I never expected to be depression free. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would be healed from it. Not because I didn't think that God couldn't do it. I knew he always could. But it always felt silly to ask for deliverance from it because I could still do life with it. I could still carry it. I thought of like in Paul, how he talks about he had a thorn in his side that he asked God on the regular to deliver him from, but God told him no. It's like, well, if I don't ask, he can't tell me no. So if I don't ask for deliverance from it, he's not going to tell me no. Then I'm not going to be disappointed. So I just won't ask. So it's like, I'll just still do all of the things with it and it's okay. It's fine. It's good. Not really, but that's what you tell yourself. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah. So, okay, we have to stay here because I think there's massive wisdom in this. What would you say to the folks that have used that exact same thought process in their mind and in their heart over and over again of, I'd like deliverance on something, whatever it might be, but I'm afraid of the disappointment if God doesn't do it. So I'm not going to ask him.
This may come off kind of harsh, but this is what I've told myself. You're putting God in a box. Why are you putting the God of the universe in a box? Why are you trying to limit? Why are you self-limiting what he can do in your life? Why are you calling the shots? And let it be free. Our prayers are going to seem silly and stupid to us, but to God, he's listening to every word. Your life is just as important as the person that you're ministering to. So why are you saying, well, I don't deserve to be, or I don't want to set myself up for disappointment? Like, God will answer you 3 different ways. Yes, no, and wait. Sometimes the no looks like a wait. So instead of saying, well, he told me no, think of it, he's telling me to wait. And waiting's okay because in the waiting, we can prep for his yes. God prepped me for my yes. Even when I didn't ask for the yes, he still gave me the yes. So for me, it's like, why am I putting my God in a box? And why am I making my God small by the limitations I'm putting on him? He has none. Why am I putting them on him? It's not what we're meant to do. That would be my wisdom from it all. That's what I've learned from it all. That's when I've been able to tell other people that are dealing with it. It's like, yeah, but what if? What if God answered your prayer? What if God moved in your life in a way that only he could? How much more could we be used by God if we just asked? God has used me more in the past 6 months that I've been able to visibly see him use me than my lifetime before that. And it kind of brings to pause for for brief moments. I've had this. What could have God done and used me for if I had just said yes and just surrendered sooner? You don't have to know all of your prayers. You don't have to necessarily ask them specifically, but just take those moments with God and just say, God, I fully surrender my life, and mean it. Like, genuinely sit there from the bottom of your soul, mean it. Give him control and let him use you to your fullest potential, because the only one that is putting limitations on you is yourself. God's not putting them on you. My God is a God of miracles, and I've seen that over and over again. And if God cares about the ugly little bird that's called a sparrow when he falls, then God cares so much more for you, because he created you, because he loves you. He wants the best for you. And the only person that can that can hurt you in that way is yourself, because you're putting limitations on God. God doesn't want limitations. He wants the best for you. And I know the best is yet to come for me, because I've fully surrendered. I've surrendered my family over and over again. I've surrendered my marriage over and over again. And it's a repetitive thing. It's not just a one and done deal. It's something that when you feel that you are like trying to control things again, where you're just like, Lord, no, I'm not doing this today. I'm fully surrendering my day to you. And I've watched even my own life where, with my anxiety, it's still something I struggle with. And there are Sunday mornings that I try to get up and I need to be at work by 7:30, and my body is just physically not having it. Like, not, if it could not have it, it's just not working. And I've asked Daniel, said, Daniel, I need you to pray with me. And he's like, okay. And like, it's just taking those few moments, like, Lord, I surrender today. I surrender my ministry. I surrender my family. I pray for those. And I just go down my list of all of my serve team that are serving that day, of families' names that come to mind. And just, instead of shifting the woe is me on myself, I take it and I flip it. And I was like, Lord, here's what I'm praying. I'm not asking for anything of myself. I'm fully surrendering everything that I have that I'm holding on to you. Please take it. Please use it. Use me as your hands and your feet. Because that's all I ever want. I just want to be the hands and the feet. If I just reach one person, then my job is done. And through the whole accident, I'm like, Lord, there needs to be good coming out of this. There has to be good. And I had somebody ask me, would you ever do like a podcast, or would you ever do like a public speaking? I'm like, no, that is not for, no. And it was like a week before our first conversation. I felt the Lord saying, now is the time. It's time. And then it was so funny, walking into work one day, Jonathan was like, hey, have you ever heard of? I'm like, no. He's like, you really should. He's like, and I've already can I contact him for you? I'm like, yes, that's fine. I just don't know when. He's like, just take your time. I gotta let you know when it's the right time. And like, yeah, Lord, that was not my will, but yours, please. So I'm not a public speaker. I'm not at all. But I was like, Lord, your name has to be glorified in every single aspect. My whole story might not touch someone, but if you look through it, find something that resonates with you and just ask the Lord to show up, to show you what you need to learn. And I just want to be used by God. That's my greatest wish and my greatest prayer. Just use me as a vessel, as your hands and your feet. I definitely there are times I feel unworthy, but God reminds me, you're worthy because you're my child, you're my daughter, and you've accepted my gift of salvation, and you are worthy. And it doesn't matter what you think or what other people think. It matters what I think. And I am calling you my daughter. I'm calling you worthy. And I'm looking down on you, and keep doing it. I will give you when I feel like my strength is weak, I just ask God, Lord, I just have a little bit more to go. Either bring somebody to me or give me the strength to push on for a little bit longer. And he always shows up for me. And I don't know. I honestly can't tell you where the switch was, because from when my prayers were always set inward to where now I'm audibly asking. And my husband, the sweetheart that he has, reminded me, he's like, there's something that I think some people forget. And I'm like, okay. He said, God can hear our thoughts and our prayers. We don't have to say them. He's like, but the devil does not have that power. He can't hear your inner thoughts. So when you're going through a rough time, call out Jesus' name. Ask God to show up. Tell Satan that he doesn't belong here because there's power in hearing it. He's like, that really resonated with me. Like, oh, before that, I had already like been praying more out loud, but then to hear him, like I totally had forgotten that. But like, how awesome is it for like God to be able, like, for us to want him so fervently in our lives, for not only for us to use our hearts, but then to vocalize those things. There's power in that. And it just kind of like all struck me like, yeah, like, am I doing that? Am I audibly praying for my team? Am I going into my preschool classrooms and praying over them before the kids get there for Sunday morning? Am I doing all these things? If the answer is no, then I'm missing out on a blessing that I could be giving to my team. And it's not just about me. It's often like praying for others. Like, how am I praying for those people that I get to serve with? And the past 6 months, God has radically changed my prayer life. He's radically changed me. My relationship with him I thought was good already, but God has shown me so much more, that I have so much more to learn. And I'm just waiting with open arms, ready to receive it, and just trying to do my best and being a good steward of what he's already given me and not missing it and slowing down. Slowing down is definitely something I still, to this day, still challenged with. But it's like that reminder. It's like, you need to slow down. You physically have to slow down. So while you're at it, you might as well mentally and spiritually slow down too.
Yeah, the trifecta there.
Uh-huh.
Well, you talked about speaking the name of Jesus out loud, speaking prayers out loud. You've probably already connected this, but I heard you say that at the moment of impact, the first words out of your mouth were, "Oh God."
Yep.
And we know from what you described what happens next. So, praise be to God. I want to ask you one other question before we get into kind of our usual two as we round out the conversation. But I want you to give us more insight into don't settle for lukewarm.
I didn't know this, but on further reflection these past 2 months, you can serve the Lord and still be lukewarm. You can still be used by God while still being a lukewarm Christian. But that's not what God wants us to be. God wants your best. And it's a matter of, again, fully surrendering. Like, I thought that I was doing the right things. I would never have considered myself more on the lukewarm side before the accident. I just wouldn't have. Like, I thought I was doing, like, I'm a staff member of a church. I'm a mom of 5 kids. I have a good marriage with my husband. I pray just like anybody else. I do devotions like anybody else. But in that moment, like, God showed me, like, you thought that was good enough? No. Mm-mm. It's like, now you are in bed and you have literally nothing else to do. Open up that Bible that you call your favorite book and start reading it. Start praying to me. Stop calling it your ministry. Call it mine. It's not what I do at church is not my ministry. I might be coordinating that ministry. But again, a coordinator means there's somebody higher up than you, and God is my higher up, and God's the one supposed to be directing me. And I've never had to come like face to face and like had to admit like I was lukewarm. And God showed me when I asked where I needed to refine that fire. And God has used music. He's used different books for me to read and just the Bible in general and conversation with other Christians to show me that God has so much more. And that, yes, you can be used while being lukewarm. But how much better to be used by God when you're walking in his presence, when you're doing what he wants you to do with the right heart attitude. Because it's a heart thing. It's not just a physical thing. It's a heart thing. Is your heart in the right place? Are you doing it for the right reason? And there were times that I know over the past like year and a half that I was being the preschool coordinator. I can tell you I was doing it for myself. That's kind of hard to admit. Why was I doing it? Was I doing it for God? And like, granted, it wasn't for like long periods of time. Like, it was short things. But like, at the end of the day, like, it's not my ministry. It's God's ministry. So why am I trying to control it? Because I have no control. Who am I to think that I've got control of my life? Clearly, I do not. The Lord showed me this past year that I have no control at all, and that whatever we think that we are, whatever control we think we have, is an illusion. Because we can think that we're on fire for God, but when we analyze and ask God the hard question, how can I grow? How can you use me? Sometimes we get the answers that we don't want to hear, but they're the answers that we need to hear. For me, those answers were, you're not always doing it for the right reason. You're not taking time to pour into your cup and to learn about me more. So you're pouring from an empty cup, and eventually that cup is going to be empty. It's going to be dry. And that for me is like, are you lukewarm, or are you going to fill up your cup and ask God for direction? And for me, like, obviously it was a very easy answer. Like, no, I thought I was doing all the things. So if I'm not doing the things that you want me to do to be on fire for you, then please show me, because I don't ever want to be considered lukewarm. It's either hot or cold. Lukewarm, I feel like, is that tricky spot where like you're on the fence. Either you're on or you're off. Get on it and let's go. For me, it was very much a decision. I've healed you from all these things. Are you willing to go one step further and fully surrender all parts of your life? Because before that, I hadn't. And since then, since April 19th, I have given over everything. There's nothing left for me to give over. There's nothing left. And the peace of not having to be in control, of knowing that God has a story written for me, that I don't have to understand the story in order to follow. We're supposed to be sheep, and God's our shepherd. The sheep don't always know where they're going. They know that the shepherd has them. So why, if a sheep can follow a shepherd with a whole bunch of other people, like, why can't I then also do it? I'd like to be in front, if that's all right with everybody. I don't want to be dragging the flock behind. So what am I doing in my ministry, like in the ministry that I'm serving in? What am I doing in order to further to kind of help that along? Because I think, again, it's like lukewarm. If you're lukewarm, you're probably bringing up the rear of the flock. I really don't want to bring up the rear. I'd much rather be closer to the shepherd, where I can hear him turn left or turn right or go straight, or get that friendly little nudge, like, hey, you're kind of steering off a little bit, like, come back over here. So that's just something that, like, God showed me about the whole lukewarm. It made me realize that I was, and that God still used me in spite of me being lukewarm. But how much more can we be used by God if we're on fire for him?
Well, let's land this plane. Man, this has been an amazing ride. Wow. So we asked two questions as we land the plane. And the first of which is, was it coincidence that you get hit by a car at 85 miles an hour and survive and have a visit from an angel? Or was that God on the move?
Without a doubt, it was God on the move. He could have taken me home, but he chose to heal me, which honestly I think is a lot more work than just taking me home. There's not a doubt in my mind at all that it was not coincidental at all. There was nothing coincidental about this. It was all God, and he showed it not just visually, but you hear it and you can only think, but God. Like, that's my anthem, but God. God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. That is my favorite saying that I've been my mantra for the past year. God called me to this. I might not be equipped going into it, but God will equip me because he's called me. I just need to be willing. So no, I don't think that it was not a coincidence. This was definitely, undeniably, God moving.
Praise God. Right on. Well, you have talked a lot about this throughout our conversation about how your life has changed.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe summarize it, or if there's anything else that you want to add to it, you know, post April 19th, I think you said,
Yeah.
or even including April 19th, how has your life changed?
I have slowed down drastically. I am able to, because I physically have to slow down. I still, my legs still get swollen a lot. I still walk with a cane. I use mobility aids, quite often. I get tired just from walking from one end of my house to the other. I wear an ankle bracelet, so an ankle brace. So just different things like that. I've learned, like I'm forced to slow down, and while I'm being forced to slow down, it's causing me to be able to look and be able to take in the moment more and to meet God in those moments when I'm slowing down, where otherwise I would have missed. I definitely resonate with the whole, I was definitely a Martha. I was doing all the things, but I was forgetting the thing that I needed to be doing was sitting at the feet of Jesus. And I feel like now, like, I can still be used. I'm still doing the thing. I'm still a preschool coordinator. I'm still loving on my families. I'm still serving with my team. But I'm taking those moments to make sure that I'm working on myself. I've not arrived. I never will arrive. And that's the beauty of it. I get to keep on learning literally till the day I die. And how awesome is that? Like, that even when I go meet Jesus in heaven, I'm still not going to know all the things about him, but, like, I don't want to be known to be the busy person. I want to be the person, like, not only is she used by God, but her prayer life is awesome. We want her to pray for us because we know that when she speaks, God listens. God is hearing her. And just being able to be minister to other people and to be a blessing to them, it's caused me to having to be slow has made it so that I see those needs, not just rush by them. That I get to take care of the one. And sometimes that one is one of my kids, or it's my husband, or it's one of the serve team members that I get to be. Sometimes they just need a friend. And me having to slow down has made that possible. I have limitations I didn't have before. And there are days that I get frustrated with those limitations. But then I think of all the times, well, if I had rushed to go do this, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Or if I'd rushed to do this, this would not have happened. Just different things like that. They're all God moments. They're all things. It's not about, like, well, if I had waited 2 more seconds, I would have gone through the red light. No. It's other things that all you can do is look at it. It's like, that was a God moment. So I'm just learning to take it all in. Learning that I don't have to do it all myself, there's nothing wrong asking for help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength when you know when to ask for help. And God's been working a lot on me on that. A lot. But yeah, that's it in a gist.
Katelyn, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me share. It warms my heart to know that other people are going to be able to listen to this and that somebody hopefully will be blessed by it and get encouragement from it, because that's all that I want. I just want it all to point to God, every little bit of it. I want God's name to be glorified in every little bit of it, because all of it was just God working and moving. And there are still days that I still feel unworthy. And I think that can be a healthy. I know that I'm worthy, but there's those moments where I think I'm unworthy. It makes me not take it for granted, because it could have been so much different. Police officers that were there told me that it should have been so much different. Other police officer friends we know, that they saw the accident reports and saw pictures, like, you shouldn't be here. I'm like, no, but God. That is always my answer. But God. I don't have any, like, that those 2 words mean so much more than just those 2 words. I don't feel like sometimes I don't have to, like, but God. Like, that's end of the conversation. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's God. I don't have an explanation for it. Don't need one. I don't need one for me. God just saw me in my imperfections and said, can be used by me. She's ready. She's waiting. She's willing. Let's give her more than what she's asked for. God gave me that accident. God gave me not just what I wanted, but he gave me all, and I do mean all, that I needed. It wasn't just the healing aspect that God proved a miracle for me. He has touched so many other people's lives because of one event. And at the end of the day, for me, that makes it worth it all. I had somebody ask me, if you knew the outcome would be the same, would you do it all over again? Yes, without a shadow of a doubt, I would do it all over again. It was the most painful thing I've ever had to do. But seeing God be able to touch those lives that otherwise would never have been touched, for certain people to be able to start praying more because they were praying for me and now they can't stop praying. Those different things for me are it's such a blessing. It makes it worth it all. And it's okay. I can be in pain for the rest of my entire life and I will still tell you it is worth it all, because every single time my name isn't magnified, God's name is magnified. I did absolutely nothing. I was literally in the driver's seat and I said, Jesus, take the wheel.
Katelyn, thank you for being on When You Look.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
It is powered by amazing firsthand stories, and we are just fully blessed by what you have shared and God has done through you, and how you have put a large stake in the ground declaring this was Him, Christ be magnified. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I truly can't thank you enough.
Thank you for having me.
Was it coincidence or God? You decide for yourself, but I believe you just heard a story for His glory. When You Look is powered by stories just like this, and yours could be next. Go to whenyoulook.com/be-a-guest or use the link in the description below. Drop us a comment and share this episode with somebody that needs it. Until next time, thanks a bunch for listening and watching, and God bless.